start. So yes, this is on the go, dashing, dashing, dashing. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm trying to get my watch time up, so I do like making lives, longer videos out in the field. And when I go into the store, I'm gonna try to block the camera a little bit. Sometimes I just put it down when I'm driving and I deal with the audio. And it's fun. It's like talk radio in a way too. And some people are like, oh, why are you in the car sometimes? Well, I just left work. I got errands. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go home and interrupt people and turn on the damn thing. I do it when I have time to myself. And if I'm doing a couple of errands, I can chit chat a little bit on the go. That's fine too. But sometimes when I block the screen, it will mute itself sometimes. I don't know why it does that. You guys let me know if it's muted. So, sometimes when I'm using the camera, I literally just have to put the phone down for a minute, and it is what it is. I just had to beep at some bonehead. He was literally parked like 20 feet behind the car in front of him, and I was trying to go around him to go on the farther left lane. And I'm beeping at him like, bro, can you go up a little bit, just a few feet? You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have killed him, and he's blasting his stupid freaking rap music. He's going on and on. And I'm like, hello? So I'm beeping like, hey, hey, nothing. So I go around and then I look at him like idiots, like complete idiot. And he's like out of his mind. Like, you got these freaking zombies just floating around. That's so sad. But yes, when the village turns their back on you, I have like a whole docu series I should go into on this topic because people are like, oh, it takes a village. Yeah, the village will only do for you if they can control you and get you to toe their line, or if you delegate some of the power or control to them. A lot of people are sick. I've noticed that too. There's a lot of grandparents who are trying to be mothers again and will literally be super controlling and will sabotage relationships between um, the true parents and the child. May it be the child maybe stayed with them, for a stint in college, and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, they're trying to finance everything. They're trying to be the actual parents. And I think that, I guess that can be in a narcissistic situation that can really mess up the kid's head, especially if the parents are there and should be involved. And when the parents had full custody, the parents shared with, of course, said grandparents and was open to all that. But God forbid, if you're dealing with kids and they get to a certain age, I wonder if I block this, guys. I'm not sure. What do you think? I might just put this in my pocket. We'll see how it goes because I don't want to mess up. We'll see. I may, hopefully, there shouldn't be any issue because last time I did this, it was fine. So I don't want it to look stupid. So do not mute me, phone. Do not mute me. You better be on. Okay. You just because I don't want it to look unseemly. And you guys should be listening and make sure you guys let me know if I'm muted in any way. I'm just going into the market real quick. This is how real people live. And how else are you going to get food and everything else? And I do like to get fresh fruits and everything for lunch. I try not to eat out as much. It's, you know, there's too much crap in half of these places. And when you get used to eating clean for so long, you don't really like eating some of that stuff. But we'll definitely go into it a little bit. This is not going to be a long video. This is just me. I'm at a different part of my life. I went from being a single mom when I was younger to being a married woman who's basically child free. And a lot of people don't talk about that experience. It's a very interesting experience. And also, it can be a very somber time in your life because it feels like, when your job is done, how quickly people forget, right? So if you don't mind me, please do another shopping. I'll put you guys in my pocket and we'll continue this on in the car. Let's get some fruit. Let's see.
And I do need to buy some more cornbread.
The dessert shelf. Gosh, the regular ones look better than the organic. How sad. How sad. They do. Yes, they look lively. Wonderful. Okay, there we go. Just wash them well, right? Gotta wash them in damn near baking soda. Let's see. Because it's sad because you're supposed to get organic strawberries. That's the best thing to buy. Because they say, oh, the regular strawberries have too many pesticides, yada yada. But they actually looked better than the organic ones. They were in better condition, better color. I gotta get my yogurt. I'm just gonna do this quick. Hopefully, I don't get home too late. Yeah, so some of us, yeah, sometimes I'll do extra hours. When I was younger, it was hard to get those hours in, and that's what a lot of people don't realize the issue is. Let me just grab this. Someone just walked by me. So people don't understand what the issue is when child support comes into play, and that's a whole discussion too, because that is meant to help the woman and the children. A lot of people don't get that. That's why it's in her name and not the child's name in court. And people need to stop making so many lies online and not realizing that the bills and the food and everything else, and how a lot of mothers had to go through their savings and their college funds, and some of their goals had to be put on ice, and how their time is limited. You cannot replace time like that. There should be a value on time. People don't get that. People shouldn't be freaking playing with people's lives like that. Like, they've got nothing better to do. And that is a huge responsibility to put on someone, especially when, a lot of guys think, oh, I've been with this girl a couple of years. Yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, big problem, especially if you're not doing everything you can to put her in a good situation. Okay, and if you're just worried about yourself and you're not trying to be a team player, what makes you think she should be a team player and she should sacrifice herself? Women need something to be motivated toward as well, something to work toward, just like men do. The men try to tear women in two, right? And that's a huge problem. And then they get to a certain point where, you know, they will raise the kid to 18, whatever. There's a whole thing now that people are like, oh, it's so mean if people have their kids leave at 18 or whatever. No one's saying put your kids on the damn street. No one ever said that, okay? No one's saying kick your kids out at 18 and let them flounder. No one said that. But if they're being super disrespectful, because this is something that I had to learn too growing up. I had to toe the line, even though it wasn't a perfect situation at home. I had enough class and respect to know that if you're under someone else's roof, you have to have a little bit of respect and decorum about yourself, especially if you're not shipping in. There's a lot of kids now who make good money and they'll buy food for themselves, pizza, whatever. You think they share the flight food with the people in the house that pays the rent, brought them to school, did whatever? No, they'd rather see it in the trash. Just because someone has the same DNA as you does not mean they have the same heart as you. And I know that's hard for some people to understand, but like they could literally have the same like shitty, toxic personality of the person that you were dating. And no matter how much you do to try to make them better people, you can read them the Bible, you can take them on walks, you can read them stories at night, you can pray with him, you can put him in sports, you can do all the things. They don't guarantee a damn thing. Okay? And I know from personal experience, and I love mine with all my heart, all my soul. I'll go down, you know. If they needed me, that'd be fine. But I shall not encourage people who do not have remorse, who can't even say sorry for their disrespect and bad behavior and disloyalty. Not going to happen because, you know, the village will definitely disappear when you stick up for yourself or you try to have some healthy boundaries, because a lot of people in the village, they have toxic families of their own. Their husbands have whole freaking separate families, been cheating on them for 20 years, and as long as they get the house, that's all they care about. Which to each their own, you know. I guess I'm just not built for some of that. I'm just not. You know, you're not gonna play with my body and my life like that. So, like, your body's like a house. So if your man's letting whoever run up in his, and then he's trying to run up in yours, you need to wake the hell up and realize, is it worth it? Oh, give me a second. It's gonna work out.
Please scan it.
Got my yogurt, my chickpeas, my mouthwash.
49. 5, 99. 4, 49. 5, 99. Don't touch 59. 99.
Let's see how much my bill is today.
99.
I think it will be
99.
for yogurt, body wash,
49.
organic snacks, those Dave's granola bars. They're pretty good.
Scan coupon
Came
now.
out to $47.50. Just like that. Still better than going out to eat. I spent $20 in one shot for lunch.
47. Then insert bill.
Yeah, so it was a long one, guys. Yeah, you can see them a lot lately too, so that's good. Got one more stop and we're good. So yeah, I got my strawberries, I got my yogurts. Don't forget to get the Greek yogurts, that's fine.
Please follow the instructions on the
So I'm always happy that I make my pit stops before I go home, because then it's like, okay, you just feel more prepared. Okay.
Please remember to take your receipt. Please insert coins, then insert bills.
No. Why do they give me money back? That is so weird. I don't know why it just did that. Give me money back. Now it's asking for $7 more. What are you talking about? Let me make sure they're not screwing with me. Okay, that's fine. Here we go.
Please wait. System processing.
Come on. There we go. That's good. Hopefully you guys
Thank
can
you
hear
for
me.
shopping
This
at
will
Stop
suck
and
if
Shop.
it muted
Please
me,
remember
huh?
to take your change and your
That'd be
receipt.
super funny. Alright, put me back. Just got one more stop and then we're good. So yeah, all my videos are not like this, obviously. But you know, a lot of people are so used to talk radio too, they don't even care. And it's usually about the message too. But I think this is something that will be talked about. Of course, everybody else is talking about all the crazy news that's going on. So there's plenty of channels doing that. But it all started too that the village has been failing the people for a long time. And the people who've gone through the most are the ones who get silenced, are the ones, you know, who are used later as damn near a babysitter. It's really uncanny, and I know it's a spiritual thing, because you'll see some people, it's like they'll have curses in their life and it'll just continue, and that's why my heart is loyal to the Most High, because I know that He will avenge my cause. Because there's nothing like sacrificing so much, being responsible, doing the hard stuff when, maybe you're in a situation and the father was really immature. I know in my case, they were in college and they were putting their career in front of everything, and, taking jobs in other states where it would be a problem if, I were to do something like that. That would be a huge problem. And basically not slowing down too much after making, all the promises, how they do. Oh, they're going to do all this and that. Oh, you're my everything. All the things to make a girl be comfortable for the moment. But what's happened is that a lot of these guys are stunted. I don't care if they have an engineer degree, because a lot of them, because my ex had that, don't even let that be a factor, because I met better men without said degrees. How about that? Okay. Hardworking men with integrity. So don't be swayed by titles. The Bible says a lot about do not give credit to titles. So everything this world does, again, is contrary. So they give you this Bible and they make you live this life contrary. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of people get fed up. Okay. And so don't be swayed. Oh, this person has this title. All of a sudden they can act better, or they're a better person. That's not true. I've seen it across the board. And where a lot of them are enabled by their boomer parents, and you're seeing that a lot, with people online still living at home and all this stuff, where their boomer parents will enable them, cover for them, all of that, and stunt their growth. Because, like, why would you want to grow up if you don't have to, right? That's how some of these people think. And so they'll live their life in perpetual adolescence. And you're like, yeah, I'm not here to be your mom, your second mom. It's not okay, right? So a lot of, people that live similar experiences, right, will have that perspective. And, my daughter was dating a guy and they were steady for a while, and then she got pregnant and she was still living in my house. We would have a huge problem. We would have a huge problem. Like, you need to put her in a house or work toward that. What the hell do you think you're doing, right? But it's funny how certain people who think they're so prestigious have very trashy lifestyles, right? Where they don't think that that was a problem, or that can go on how long, indefinitely. Well, I played that game how long? How long could I, right? You know what I mean? When the child gets to a certain age, like, oh, you're still doing this? No, my life needs to move forward, right? I don't know what you thought this was. So a lot of people in between time, they'll get aggravated. They'll be like, what the hell? They'll get gaslit. Like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, you should be happy. Oh, the kid made your life better. Like, what do you mean? This is very abusive language, okay? And you may have had, some support, but it only lasts very, very temporarily. And then when you're having any type of issue trying to teach respect or discipline, because let's face it, it's really tough, even in divorce situations now, where one parent will shit talk the other parent. I think I was hearing a little bit of the Jennifer Lopez story. I think her daughter, like, cross dresses. I don't know. Her daughter looks really interesting. I'll just say that. And I guess the daughter is not very close to the father. That's what the rumor is. And people say, yeah, no kidding, because the mom is always like talking trash or whatever. And sometimes the dads can be so they can have like a lot of hatred too, right? And they can be really vindictive, and they can try to do something similar where, say you raise the kid to like 18, 20, whatever, and you're like, you know what, you need to be a father. Like, this kid does not need to have any type of daddy issues or whatnot. You know what I mean? You talk all that big game, I need some help. then it becomes a problem. And then people try to make it sound like, oh, it has anything to do with the money. If anything, you can get child support while the kid's in college until they're done with college. I was so over it and so over everyone trying to act like I'm their employee. And it's all cute when the kids are small and they're loving on you and they love you so much and you're so cool. But then when it gets to a certain point where they want to try to treat you shitty like your ex, then it's time to do something about it. We're gonna pause that. I'm doing another errand. Hello, my friends. How are you? Pretty good. How are you? Good. Staying warm, hopefully. Okay, okay. Just want to sit there. I was gonna grab this if you have any more.
One of those or two?
One. It's special. And sharing the love. Valentine's Day, very sweet. Thank you. Have a good one. Have a good one. Thank you. That was my last errand on. I know. Yes, right? You little nosy blokes. I do everything in honor. And especially too when I teach about like the whole status thing. A lot of people think, oh, you could do all this stuff and not get in trouble. Actually, you need to stay in honor, guys. Like stop teaching people that. It's pretty wild. You still gotta be peaceful and all that stuff. That's why, now I'm at a place where I'm more chill and I can speak on things without getting upset. A couple of years went by. It was kind of tough going through it, but now I'm on the other side, and I'm really close to a lot of people in their 20s. I work with them. It's funny, they gravitate with me, they bother me on my break. You can tell when people like generally like being around you. That's why I think it's funny when people make a smear campaign, especially when you were that so-called cool parent, although it was kind of like cool and strict at the same time. But it goes to show that like when some people don't get their way with you in your life, then they have no more use for you, is what I'm saying. And there's some people like you see a rise online too. And a lot of these narcissistic coaches, they're actually destroying families more than anything as well too. because it's so quick to be like, no contact, no contact, unless it's like violent or something. That could be kind of damaging too, because a lot of the same people who had the issues all with the real narcs are also watching those things and think that it applies to them. Like a lot of people don't put things in context and they're like, oh yeah, that's me too. Like, and they will cut off their parents or whoever just because they think that's the right thing to do. And especially ones that took care of them from day one, right? Until they were a young adult. And it's like, hey, you can, if you have like a troubled teen, I've had cousins who had to stay with aunts for a little while, then they come back home. Shit happens because at that age you can be really hot headed. You could want to run with your friends. You can want to do a lot of things. And if your parents care about you, they're gonna do something about it. They're gonna look for you. They're gonna have to call the cops to get you away from whatever trap house you think you're hanging out at, whatever, to put you back on the right track, to put you on the path to college or whatever, because they know that you need intense structure or you're just gonna be running ragged. You don't have self-discipline. Some people, they need that type of lifestyle. They need a heavily regimented lifestyle or they would just be getting into trouble, right? So you have to know that, especially if you're raising someone, or it could be even a relative. I know some people, they are raising their nieces and stuff. I've seen all kind of configurations. If it gets to a certain point and they're like trying to overtake you, because the Bible says that the children will try to rule over you. And social media does that. They start calling you bro. They think that they start treating you like somebody in their class. They can get in groups, mean girl groups. Their behavior can change. So many things. It can be like, oh, wow, this sweet little thing can turn into something unrecognizable. And especially if you have, your ex always trying to gain leverage, especially since you had full custody the whole time of their life. You know what I mean? Now that they're like, aha, the kid is in their 20s or whatever, now I'm going to make up for all the time and I'm going to try to brainwash them. And they will literally, you got to be careful with that too. It's crazy. That's a whole setup where there's guys who will have the girls raise the kids to a certain age. And then God forbid you reach out to their side of the family and it won't even be the guy who's really helping. It'll literally be their, well-to-do parents or something. Like it's not the guys picking up the slack. Don't even believe that. They'll be in a whole different state doing their own thing and the kid will be in your state. Like, nah, no, we're not doing that. Okay. And then when, God forbid, like, because I've seen that where cousins, like I said, had to go and all, but they didn't like renounce their parents after. They like realized what it was, and you can tell who are decent people and who are not. Because if you can't be accountable, be like, yeah, I was being way disrespectful. I was being not trustworthy. I was being double-minded. I didn't have empathy. There's some kids that can, have like a mean streak, They can see their parents sick, whatever, not give a shit. Just be like, what are you doing for me lately? Like that kind of attitude. You're like, what the F is this, right? And then they'd be putting their nose in the parents' business and stuff. And it doesn't need to go there. It's because the one who is in their feelings or whatever will be the one causing all the chaos, and judges will tell you in court not to do that, but people continue to do that, right? And then give the kid half truths or whatever over time, or use their parents in time to try to plant seeds, and then be ready to buy a car or whatever to try to gain their affections at a certain age. In your certain age, you can be easily influenced by shit like that. And then all of a sudden, then they're like, okay, we'll help you, but you can't talk to this person. That to me is downright evil. And if any young adult goes with that, that's saying a lot about you and what your intentions are, and what what kind of spirit you have going on, because you're not even trying to see the whole picture. You don't even appreciate the ones who were there when other people were making excuses. And just because you make the other person accountable doesn't make you a bad person. But it's almost like you got to just do the whole thing all the way through, and that would be fine. A lot of times I see the closest moms with their kids is when they kick the dad out altogether. And I come from the school of thought like, no, you need both sides because I want, you want the kids to be well adjusted. But then all of a sudden, it's like when you try to do that, then they're like, oh, aha, okay, now the kid is on our side, so see ya. So it's almost like, but it's only worth it to go through all that if the kid is respectful and loving, and they don't have to help if they can't. But I mean, when you buy, you buy things and you're hoarding it. God forbid you bring home a pizza, you rather see the leftovers in the trash than share it. Shit like that is very wild to me. And just constantly being very, very self-absorbed, and over time, and causing division. And sometimes they can be really ignorant toward the step parents too, who are the ones picking up the slack when the other parent is trying to be a jerk or trying to make your life harder because you weren't going to be controlled and played with, you know what I mean, or disrespected. And when that disrespect starts happening in front of the kids, you better watch out, because it's a really dark road, and I see how some relationships end up. So I know it can be difficult, but it's something that everybody should really, look and realize that, yeah, they say it takes a village, but sometimes your village can be sabotaging you. Sometimes it can be encouraging you to do something that will hem up your whole life, right? And act like, try to guilt and shame you, and then at the same time judge you while you're doing it, judging you really harshly. And as you get older, your cynical mind will lessen because you'll have to go through some things. There's a lot of people like, oh, just date her when she's younger, she got less, whatever. Yeah, they just want you to be freaking foolish, because if you had too much maturity, you probably wouldn't even be in that situation, right? And that that's what they want. They want to try to get you before you smarten up. And some people, they take a little longer than others to mature. Just because you're a girl doesn't mean, oh, you're going to mature right away, and stuff like that. But we're definitely going to continue this another time. This was just something that was on my mind today. And just know that, that same village that's helping you today will be the same one that could be trying to push you out of the way or try to help you because they want to take your place, or you have, like some sick people who are past their fertility window and don't have any other grandchildren and was talking the most shit. But God forbid you give them that one, right? That one, because their family's so cursed. That was the only one they were ever going to get. And of course, they're going to latch onto it like a bunch of vampires. But when the kid gets to a certain age, it's really up to them to be loyal. And just like a parent, it's like God too. God has more than one child. A parent has more than one child and can love both. I don't understand how kids, when they're in a divided thing, and that can be for anyone, how they feel like they have to just pick one. And that really says more about the parent that's in their ear. It's pretty disgusting. And that parent don't love that kid that's doing that. They really don't. They don't even want to let them have a complete family. They're so vindictive and disgusting that they hate their child enough to try to, take away the mother that bore them, that did most of the rearing for all of the years, right? And obviously wasn't a bad person because they were the only one fighting for custody or care. And a lot of guys are not doing that. And the only time that they do anything is through proxy, is through their own parents or whatever. And they think that that is equal or the same. I think that's atrocious. I think it's a sham. Hopefully, Gen Z can learn to think for themselves and have a little bit of decorum and understanding, especially since they don't know what it feels like being that age and having to go through similar experiences that you had. I just see that with time, it will reveal all truths, and do not lean too much on that village, because that village will disappear when it's convenient for them. Loyalties change all the time, and a lot of times they're just being nice to you because they're biding their time. and leaving you out, to dry or whatever when you think they're done. Or when you're like, you complain about it and you're like, I'm not dealing with disrespect. I need some type of reinforcement here. And, at least until the person's done with college. But then it continues on in a certain way. And you know what? All you can do is pray, because I know I've spoken to a lot of depressed parents. And, they tell me the same thing too, like, hey, you know what? Especially when these kids are young, you just got to let them figure it out, because they don't get it. They're really self absorbed at that age. They got too many people in their ear, they got too many people confusing them, and their mind is not their own, apparently. And so you got to just, have a little bit of faith and let God take care of it. But I wouldn't overly trust the village, okay? Because the village can be temporary, and the village can be the ones that you need to protect yourself from. Just be careful out there. Take care. Have a good night.